Well, tomorrow morning, friends, we're going to head off up the Gordon, way up here, up past the sandstone where we were today.
Yep.
Around here, past the Angel Cliffs, past the mouth of the Sprint River, and then onto the western bank of the Gordon. I'm going to show you where the grandfather cut a track and they had a camp there out to, it follows the ridge line out here around to there, and they had a camp there about 600 or 700 feet above the river, above the Sprint River.
Good. And where were the other families? Where did they have their camps there, Ronnie?
Well, the Grindings, they had a lease out here as well, just in this area.
Yep.
And then the Nielsen's, they had a lease as well on this side of the Sprint for a short while.
Right.
So they're all fairly close together, these leases. There's one there. And then, of course, they had another lease. Ron and Keith had a lease in 1934, which was just there. A small lease there in Abel's Creek, and they were pulling Huon pine out to the Sprint there, down the creek. So there was quite a bit of activity there, around the 1933, 34, up to sort of 39 in this area, 38.
Sometimes we used to go to other camps of a Sunday, chopping, competitive chopping. The Grinding family, the Morrison family, the Tonkses, Nielsens, mostly families. Finns, father, 3 sons, 2 sons.
Right. Looking forward to it. Should be a good day.
Yeah, it'll be a good day, it'll be a long day.
That's all right. I'm up for it.
Righto, friends, we've got a few miles to get to the Sprint.
Sounds good, Ronnie.
So if we get up through that rapid, there's a bit of run coming down the river today.
On what rapid, Dad?
Oh, it's only the Sprint rapid, you'll be right.
I don't know about that, Ronnie.
Well, anyway, it'll be a lot quicker coming home, we'll be going downhill.
I'm a piner, Ronnie! Right in.
But when you're taking your supplies up the river, like we used to take them to chaff and that sort of thing, there'd be 2 of yous, but you'd have 2 punts, and you'd help each other. So there was only really 1 man on that seat there, and that allowed you to have that for your supplies. Now you would help each other go up over the rapids and what they call shallows. They weren't all rapids. Sometimes you had to pull your way up with the growth on the side. There was other places where you had to have a long rope. This long rope used to come in handy to you. One of your mate would have to go up along the bank of the river, and there was no track there. He had to go along the scrub with this long rope. He might have to go perhaps 25 feet in the old measurement.
Because the Sprint River is full of boulders, Ron and Franz trek through the bush to join it further upstream.
How'd you like the Sprint rapid?
I thought you did really well through there, Ronnie.
Yeah, look at this.
Hey, she's an old
Old Huon pine stump there.
stump there.
That's where they put the scarf, the front in the tree there, see?
Yeah.
Fell him straight down towards the river.
Oh, geez.
Cut the head off and then pulled him in. They wouldn't have let the car to go. The handy one. Another live one, see, a little one they've left there.
So they were quite selective about what they did.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, there's another one there, and there's a bigger one over there about 40 or 50 yards.
Okay.
Explaining to you about the bird's eye, friends. This is an example of it here. See all these little branches? They're all growing on a burl there, or a bunkle on the side of the Huon pine. And sometimes they're covered, the whole tree's covered in them. And these little branches, well, as the tree grows, it grows out over these branches, and the branches remain inside the tree. And when you cut the timber, you can see it all looks like bird's eyes. So when it's really thick all over the tree, Doesn't necessarily have to have big bark. Also can have a lot of these little shoots that the tree's just covered in. It's just like a broom. And that's where the best of the bird's eye is. It just goes all the way into the heart when you cut it through. It's just beautiful. But not all the Huon pines are like that. Obviously the boat grade timber, that's not what you want for boat grade timber, but for feature timber it's very nice. And anyway, we'll keep going. We've got about half a mile to go to the sprint yet. Here's a big old Huon pine here, friends.
Oh, jeez. How big out the size of him, Ronnie?
Yeah, it'd be,
How old would it be?
oh, it could be 12 or 1500 years old.
Whoa.
The mills would like to have him now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
We'll keep moving.
Yeah.
Right there, friends.
Oh, kind of. I'm on my hands and knees crawling through, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, just get under that horizontal there.
What is this scrub?
Oh, it's horizontal, see? It grows along above the ground and you've got all these shoots grow straight up into there. See it all through there?
Right.
Hard to get through.
Yeah.
Well, horizontal's horizontal. It could grow, or say 4 or 5 inches thick, or 4 inches thick, 1 inch thick, but it don't grow up. It'll grow along and shoot up, and it'll grow like blackberries everywhere with no spikes on it. And we used to cut tunnels through it for the horses. You cut a tunnel through it. Take you all day to cut a chain of track through the horizontal. If you struck a patch of horizontal and you couldn't get nothing, you just cut a bloody tunnel through it.
Scrubby stuff now, but it's small manuka and bower. And
How far's this river?
oh, you listen? Can you hear it? Hear it way down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we haven't got far to go, but it's a fair way through the bower. We just come onto it now.
All right.
Barrow scrub is real thick, and they're only small stems. About you just can't do anything with barrow scrub. You got to chop it. Two-faced slicer can get to chop your way through it. Well, that was the bugger that burnt us out because I know it was fired to try and get rid of it so they could make a road through it for horses.
You know, when you cut a track, you've got to make it clear so you can walk, you can nearly run along it.
All right.
You've got to spend a lot of time on it, going from the camp back to the timber job, carrying the gear. The horses have got to come along it.
Yeah.
We just got to get to the river. We're here, mate. We're here.
Travelling through the bush underneath. Over the logs, leeches, 9 tiger snakes.
Yeah, I know, there's a few there, wasn't there?
No, that's wrong.
They won't hurt you, the old tiger snake.
What have we got?
Well, this is the Sprint River, mate. This is where we've come to. How you travelling?
Mate, I remember the couple of times I've talked to Reg, he's talked about the Rocky Sprint. And whenever he has talked about the Rocky Sprint, you see this, his eyes dull over and he tells you about how rough it is and the boulders. And now I can see what he's talking about. So, how did they work here?
Well, we're at the top end of the Sprint River, the island on the Sprint River, yeah? And the pine is called the Rocky Sprint, as you can see why.
Yeah.
Rocks as far as you can see, and these are the small ones. The further up you get, the bigger they get. Well, the river widens out here and splits. A third of the river goes down that side, down to the south, and 2/3 goes along the north of the island, down to the Gordon.
Now, one of the things the Morrisons were really clever about were taking that camera up into the pining area.
Yeah.
Now, I believe there's a really nice shot here.
Yeah, no, there's a good photo there that Reg took. He was standing here,
Yeah.
and it's facing over there.
Right.
And you've got Terry Jones and Ron and Keith Morrison sitting on these logs, and a big long Huon pine log, a 40-footer in the photo. And they had a winch just over here, just over in the scrub over there on the bank of the river.
Right.
So when the logs piled up here in the flood, they'd have to come down here and run the wire out onto a log and pull them over into the deeper part of the river. As you can see, it's not deep now, but when it rains heavy, it needs a lot of rain to bring the logs out of this river. to get them to float, and the bigger they are, the
Yep.
more water you need to get them down.
It'd be good to hear Reg talking about that sort of thing.
And we used to go walk over from the sandstone and you'd see logs coming down, and I've seen him hit a rock and pull them up that quick that the impact of the water on the butt of the log would go up 3 feet in the air, and whisk them around, tear them away and roll them over another rock and on down through the river.
Where did they actually get the logs from?
Oh, the logs came down the Sprent about 1.5 miles upstream. There was a big deep hole, and up from the deep hole there was a log chute about 700 or 800 feet high.
Right.
And a place, they built a camp there and named it Dartmoor because it was up high, it was in the cloud a lot. A real wet sort of place, steep. But they had to get in there, they couldn't go up the river, take the horses up. They cut a track from the Gordon upstream from the Sprent.
Right.
They cut a pack track and it went up this big gum ridge there, see that big high ridge, and it followed the river most of the way. Went inland a little bit.
Right.
And it's about 1.5 miles, 3/4 from the Gordon back to the Dartmoor camp.
Right.
So they established a camp there, but then they had to build bridges. And old Jim Morrison, the grandfather, he sort of started building the bridges. He was pretty good at that sort of thing. Had to build bridges across these real steep gullies
Right.
to get access to the pine that you couldn't have got any other way. So they had these shoe roads everywhere up there for the 4 horses to pull the Huon pine logs to, and they pulled them right to the top of the log chute. The log chute's like that.
Yeah, right.
It's probably about 75 degrees it was, straight down to this big deep hole.
So she's pretty rugged up there, Ronnie.
She's rugged, mate. Yeah, she's all right here, but as you get further up, the boulders get bigger and bigger and the country gets steeper. See that big hill up there?
Yeah.
That's the start of the Kingbilly Range there, and runs right up on the northern side of the Sprent.
As the south side of the King William Range was too steep for working horses, everything had to be packed in on men's backs.
And of course, it wasn't only food, it was the things you used to have to use, axes, saws, wedges, tents, cooking materials, a few pots, even things to make your camp with. Make the chimney of your camp, which you used to try and get a couple of sheets of galvanised iron, drag it on end for you, make your chimney out of so as it wouldn't catch a light. Oh, it was all labour and manhandle. You had to manhandle everything.
Yeah, when we get back to Strawn, I'll take you up in the helicopter and give you a bit of a look.
Well, I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, righto then.
So where are we going, Ronnie?
Oh, we're going up to have a look at this old winch on the bank of the river.
I think I'm starting to get the hang of walking on these rocks, Ronnie.
Oh, you get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is. Hasn't moved since the last time I saw it. What do you reckon?
Mate, how did they get that in here?
Well, they carried it.
They carried it.
They would have put it there in about 1936.
Well, how did they get it all together? How did they
Well,
get it here like this?
Well, see all these flanges on the shafts there,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
got bolts. You unbolt it and pull it all apart. Carry the gear shafts and the main drum and the frame, carry it all separately, just pack it in
Right.
and put it all back together. Yeah, look, here's the wire ropes here, see?
Oh, okay.
They've been there, they haven't been touched since they left here in 1938. And look at that, there's the winch handles there, look at that, see 'em?
Wow.
All rusted away, just hanging on that branch.
Yeah, right. Geez, those,
Eh? Still got the
Cables.
galvanising on it.
they look good, don't they?
Yeah,
It's like a living museum, really, isn't it?
yeah.
It's a living museum. I'm looking forward to getting to a log, Ronnie.
Are you really? I'll show you a good log here in a minute. There's still a few left on the island here that will never come out unless someone moves them.
Right,
I'll go and show you a couple in a minute.
So the logs would really stack up here, Ronnie.
Yeah, stack right up on the island here. Yeah, well, I think there was about a couple hundred here at one time. I was come up here with Dad about 35, 36 years ago, and there was about 70 Huon pine logs plastered all over the island, all over that shore over there, and built up about 12 feet high. And they'd been there since they finished working here 40 years before that. Yeah, friends, there's these Huon pine logs I was telling you about earlier. They're still here. They're still here. They were here and they haven't moved since I was here 36 years ago. And they've been here for at least 75 years.
They still look great.
They've got moss. When I was here, they never had any moss on them. They're all sort of white. All these trees have grown up around them.
Yeah.
And the brand, you could read the brand, the M Square, Morrison brand, and Claude had his brand on there as well, CM, Claude Morrison.
Yeah.
Whoever pulled the horses, pulled the logs with the horses, they put their brand on there as well, so they could be paid for what they did.
So it's been sitting here that long, and the timber itself would just be beautiful.
Oh yeah, just like the day they cut it down.
Yeah.
Have a listen to this. Solid.
Solid as. Beautiful. How much timber do you reckon to be in this one?
Oh, we might measure him up, eh? See how much is in him.
Sounds like a good idea.
We'll get a nice skinny horizontal stick. Here we go. This will do. Just hang on to that there and we'll measure him out. Measure the stick.
With the axe?
Yeah, with the axe, yeah.
And this is the way the bushmen would do it?
This is how we're going to do it. How many was that? 3? What's that?
Yeah, 3 and a half. Just on 4.
So that's 10 feet, about 10 foot 2 there. Can you see under the log there? I've got a hole under my side.
Yeah, okay.
Can you get under him there?
Yeah, I'll get under him.
Right.
As long as there's no tiger snakes.
Yeah. It'd be dark under here for a tiger snake in here.
Oh, I'm glad about that.
Just grab the end of him. And don't pull it straight up though, just
Can't find
See?
Oh, hang on, she's poking through. There we go. Got it.
right. I'll just push my end down, you pull your end up. You bend right around,
around?
the horizontal, well yeah, tighten the knot.
Have a go at that.
What's that? We got any slack there? Yeah. He's a good 9 foot. 9 foot girth. And there's 61 super feet at 9 foot girth. So what did we say that was? 10 foot long. I'll put him on the end of the log up there. It's 10.
Yep.
What's that?
Watch the fingers.
You got 5 more. $16 feet.
So how much
16
timber's
feet.
there?
Well,
How much timber's in it, Ronnie?
Well, the 61 super at 9 foot girth, so it's 16 times 61, that's 10 sixes, 600, 610, 6 sixes 36, 960, about 980 super feet. Say 1,000 super.
How many cubic metres?
I think there's 450 super feet to a cubic metre, so that's about a bit over 2 cubic metres.
Without a calculator.
Calculator? I never had calculators up here.
So Ronnie, how do you know that the timber in here is good?
Oh, he's solid. He'd be solid as the day he was cut down.
Yeah, but it's sounding solid,
Yeah.
but
Listen to that. Let's have a look at him then. We'll take a slither off him and I'll show you.
let's have a look.
Have a smell of that.
Now,
What do you reckon?
that is fantastic. I know the old fellas that I've had the opportunity to talk to, they talk about when they first drop the trees and the smell.
Yeah.
It's an amazing smell, and that is the smell.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
beautiful smell. That's a beautiful smell. Always reminds me of my wife. Strong, beautiful and overpowering.
Geez, you'll get on, won't you?
So what happened, Ronnie? Why did the Morrisons leave these logs here?
Oh, well, they all got injured about the same time. Said earlier, Reg got hit by a log in the log chute. The log jumped out of
over one of the fences.
come out over the side, and you could hear him roaring through the scrub. So I'm listening, next thing, bang, he hits me in the stomach and carries me on and rolled me over onto my stomach, and I'm going along, and about, I don't know, 2 or 3 chain I reckon I went, but luckily it was only fine young leather horizontal little scrub growing about 3 or 4 foot high, and luckily enough down below that there was big horizontal and a cliff where before they went into the chute, into the deep hole, and I don't know how, but anyway I fell off the end of him, and about 8 or 10 foot from where I fell off, me hit a myrtle and tore the bark and some wood out of him and hit the cliffs and swung up over the top of me. The leaning horizontals carried his weight, and I'm lying down underneath, and I can hear Terry Jones screaming now, was I all right? And I was too sick to tell him. So he comes screaming and running down the track, and he saw me, and he sung out Harry Smith near at the top that I'd been hit with the log. So Harry Smith came down, and I wasn't too bad, but I was black and blue from both hips right up to the chest bone for about 2 weeks. But Harry Smith carried me up that chute, and it was steep. You flog chute down it, and there was a big clay patch about 100 yards long, and it was very awkward to walk up it, but he carried me up out of there, and I don't know how he did it really. But anyway, they put me on a horse, carried me into the river, and I was taken away to Strawn.
Ron got crushed by a log. They were cutting a log off, heading a log off, and the log got rolled, and Ron was on the low side, and the log rolled down and pinned him against a big myrtle. So he crushed his leg real bad, and then Dad cut his toe off. So there was 3 out of action. It left Terry Jones there. He was the same age as Reg, about 17, 18. Huh. 17 he was, and then Claude. So they decided to sell the job to Jim Howard in Zion. So they sold the lease and the logs, and no one's been back since.
Yeah, right. It was a tough job for the Morrison family.
When you're coming down a river, like the Gordon River, the Franklin River, or some others, you get what you call rapids. Instead of going down front first as you've been going, you turn your boat around and you go down backwards, stern first. Rowing slightly upstream, you can guide your boat from one side of the river to the other, and very often, well, you always guide your boat through the calmer waters of the rapids. You have complete control of your boat and complete safety.
You're going to try and get up to the Denison and the Punt tomorrow, eh?
Yeah, we'll give the Denison a bit of a shot tomorrow. Yeah, we went to the Sprint today. That was a pretty good day, pretty easy day up there.
Easy? You call that easy?
Yeah, it was sort of just a normal day.
Normal day?
For me, anyway.
Well, I'd hate to see a difficult day. That's all I'm going to say.
Went for a bit of a walk to the river, the Sprint. All right, when I walked through the bush and back.
I'm talking about the river, that punt, getting up those rapids, coming down those rapids.
Well, we got up and back, didn't we?
Yeah.
There's no more rapids though, is there?
Oh, there's only the Shark's Mouth, and then we've got to get through the Olga Gorge. That takes us a while to get through there. It'll probably take us 2 hours to get up through there.
She's going to be a hotter day tomorrow too.
Yes, that's right. We'll have the flannel off and the shirt off tomorrow.
Ready to roar.
Righto. We'll get up into this eddy here and have us rest for a while.
Sounds good to me, Ronnie.
Morrison's at a camp just here.
Yeah.
You see the pine is there, just to the right of that pine. That Huon pine there, up on the bank there. It's up about 40 feet above the river.
Yeah.
The Morrisons had to cut a pack track from the depot on the Gordon 2 miles inland to the Dartmoor camp for the carriage of tools and supplies. This is a photo of Prince carrying 2 bags of chaff along that track for his own use. To aid in the cutting of the track through thick Bowra scrub, they decided to burn it.
Yeah, they got a fire going and got away on them. Kept going. And they had to run into the Sprent River, take their flannels off, which they probably would have had off. They had to get in the water with just the red sticking out and the flannel over the red. And the fire burnt right over the river onto the north bank. And it burnt way up into the Olga Gorge.
Oh no.
And there's other bushmen up there, other piners up there.
Oh no.
And they weren't real happy.
I bet they weren't happy.
We thought the bloody world had come to an end. We did, and we didn't know what to think. The bloody wallabies were in the river. It was full of bees, and millions of bees that was moving with bees. And we all got in the punt, took the dog and all went out into the river, and we laid in the shallows, from the rapid from the shallow above where it was running. We got in the river, and we took it in turns of coming up with a towel over our face to breathe through and throw a dish of water onto your turn, mate. Back under and put the towel. It's that bloody hot, and the paint all blistered on the boat, all blistered all along the boat. We were frightened to catch a light, but we had a dish of water, and we kept throwing it in on our dog, the little dog, and that's all there was. We had nothing else in it, only the dog and ourselves. And there was these kangaroo rats. I didn't think they were in the bloody river. I didn't think there was such a thing in the river. The paddy melon was there, he was in the river and he had a white tip on his tail. Where the hell? I never thought they were in that area. Oh, tiger cats. Tiger cats. There's one thing for sure, there's no Tasmanian tiger ever there because they didn't live together. A tiger cat and a Tasmanian tiger would never live. Native cat, but not the tiger.
Because it made it easy to cut the track, but where they eventually worked and the others were working, all the bush was that black. And so they'd go to work if you don't come home black with charcoal. And then you'd get a skid and the logs wouldn't skid properly on it because it was all charcoal, all the sap was burnt off. But you can see now, you wouldn't know there was a fire there, would you?
You wouldn't know. Oh, so...
Keep going?
Yeah, let's keep going.
We'll just slow it down here, we'll just come up under this rock with the shark's mouth here. Just keep your paddles out of the water.
Yeah.
We'll just have a look and see what she's like.
Oh, she looks good. I don't know, Ronnie.
What do you reckon, we give her a go?
No, look, if it was 2 experienced oarsmen, then I think it'd be worth it.
Yeah, well, I don't know where I'm going to get another one from.
That's right. It's not going to be today. It'll take me a year or 2 to learn this, Ronnie, and...
Yeah.
Nah.
You've got to know what you're doing. Like this, it gets worse than this as you go up. You get up on the Olga Gorge, up at the gate there. Look at the power of that water there. Pennies and boils.
Yeah.
Tuck the dinghy down sometimes. Look at that over there.
These punts are great boats, aren't they?
How's that?
That's
They
fantastic.
spin you around like a top.
Yeah. These punts, they're great handling punts, aren't they, Ronnie?
Aye. Yeah, they're a good punt, all right.
Jeez, they handle really well.
Yep.
They're good, aren't they?
Yeah, shut up, will you? I'm trying to concentrate.
Oh, sorry, Ronnie.
After tackling Sharkmouth Rapids, I'd had enough. And even though we hadn't gotten up to the Denison River, it was time for me to call it quits and head back to civilization. So Ronnie, I can't thank you enough for this experience. It's been a real insight into the world, just a glimpse of the world of the piners, where they worked, what they did, what they endured. You know, it's a beautiful place to work in, but these guys were working for very little reward.
Yeah, that's right. There wasn't much money in it. You know, the weather's been pretty good to us while we've been up here, but you can imagine what it's like here in the winter time.
Constant wet weather,
Wet.
freezing.
Yeah.
And the river, dealing with the changes in the river, because it was never the same day after day, was it?
No, that's right. No, the river goes up and down with the rain. Rain comes, and the rivers start to rise and flood, and weather finds up and down they go, and then that makes it accessible for the piners to get their punts up the river to keep the supplies up to themselves and the horses, get themselves back to Strawn or up the Gordon from Strawn.
So the endurance, the ingenuity, the way they went about things, it was great to get an insight into that. Thank you very much.
No, it's a pleasure, friends. I'm pleased you got something out of it.
Welcome to all our guests to Port Eagle. You're more than welcome to make your way into the mill, and I'll wait for a few more people to make their way off Eagle, and then I'll let you know exactly what it is that we're looking at.
How'd you get on up the river, Ron?
Oh, we had a real good trip up there, Snowy. Real good trip.
Few logs about, or
Yeah,
what?
no, we found a few logs.
Yeah.
Some of the old camps up there.
Oh, yeah.
Found a few logs up in the Sprint there. Some of the
Oh,
logs
yeah.
was cut by your father and my father and Reg
Yeah.
and
Well,
Rod.
there'll be still a few of them around, I reckon, up there, but they'll be well back in the bush
Well
now.
back, they never come out. Never
No.
come out. Yeah, I reckon the last lot to come out was about 1981,
Yeah,
when your father was still cutting here.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You still get an odd one out now and again, but not very often, very seldom. Now, how did you go up the river, Ron, with Fran? Did you?
Oh no, he was all right, Snowy, but yeah, another 10 or 15 years he might make a piner.
Yeah.
He was a bit gun shy on the rapids though. He wasn't real confident.
I can understand that, yeah, I reckon he would be.
We had him up in the Shark's Mouth Rapid there.
Oh, yeah, that'll
Big
frighten,
boil down the back there. He
that'll
wasn't-
frighten him a bit.
He wasn't real keen on it.
That was a great trip up the river, a real experience, and it was fantastic to get such an insight into what it was like to be a piner. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's nice to have you on board. Hang on, friends. I told you when I was up the river I was going to show you some virgin stands, small stands of Huon pine.
Yeah? Okay, well how are you going to do that, Ronnie?
Don't worry about that. Get in.
After Shark Mouth Rapid, no way, Ronnie.
Shut up and get in. Pass me that slash hook. So once we get airborne, that shape will stop.
Yeah.
It'll stop and then it'll get violent. Better make sure she's not going to come off. See, Macquarie Harbour's a big harbour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Sarah Island.
Yep.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Ron flies the helicopter east to the Franklin River, a tributary of the Gordon, to show Franz the wild Deception Gorge, the mecca of whitewater rafters today, and where Ron and Reg Morrison made their epic journey in 1940.
But see how rough she is? Have a look up here to the right. Well, that's where Reg and Ron took the punt in 1940. They took it from the mouth of the Franklin River right up to the Lyle Highway. It's about 58 miles, looking for Huon pine.
It's just...
They cut all that, cut Huon pine all around Mount Fincham and the foot of Frenchman's Cap, right along the banks of the Franklin River.
Looking at it from here, it looks like an extraordinary place to actually get to, let alone cut timber and get a punt up there.
Yeah, it's a big task.
Ah,
Yeah, they were 6 weeks they were, going through there looking for timber, taking it,
yeah.
the same punt that we went to the Sandstone and the Sprint in.
Ah, that's...
Shark's Mouth Rapid. Remember that?
Yeah.
Even though the country's steep here,
Yeah.
it's rough all the way down. There's no natural valleys that go all the way to the river without a flat spot or big boulders in them.
Yeah.
The logs get stuck if you try to shoot them down. That's why they left them.
Okay.
Ron flies 30 k's south to show Franz the Sprint River Valley.
I'll fly up along the Sprint. Now, friends, that's the Kingbilly Range there. See there? It's up about 14 or 1500 feet there where we are now.
Right.
All these, see those real
soft bushy trees, they're light green.
Yeah.
Big round heads.
Yeah.
They're big old Huon pines. and in amongst them, you can see the really dark green.
Yeah.
And a few dry branches.
Right.
Oh, that's King Billy.
Ah.
All the way up through here.
Ron flies over where his forebears cut, hauled and shot logs into this deep river pool in the 1930s. This is incredibly rough terrain in which to work horse teams. As a 16-year-old boy, Reg worked here and took these rare photos with his little box Brownie camera. The forest was still blackened by the Great Fire of 1933, in stark contrast to the lushness of today.
Nearly every gully in that, which was every 200 or 300 yards, there was pine in every gully for some 5 or 6, 7 miles. And a lot of men worked there for Howard, 3 and 4 in gangs, probably 30 odd men, I reckon, worked along there.
Built of celery pine bearers and Huon pine decking, the old bridge over Morrison's Creek is one of the few surviving relics of those pining years. The Morrisons shot their logs into the river downstream of these falls to avoid damage. The Grinings and Nielsen's worked further upstream.
The Nielsen's worked just behind us there now, but they left a lot of the timber here. No one cut it. They would have liked to have cut it, but they couldn't get into the river. It's just too rough.
Yep.
Too steep for horses, and the terrain was too rough to shoot it down.
Right.
Although it's steep, there's a lot of places where it comes down and comes onto a flat, down and onto a flat.
Yep.
So on down to the river, so it wasn't continuous enough to shoot the timber. So we got the Percy River.
Yeah.
Just there.
Yeah.
R.J. Howard from Zeehan, he had a gang of men working up here cutting Huon pine as well, just a little way up the Percy River.
Wow.
They didn't go very far up because it's a very rough river and not very deep. They cut a lot of Huon pine there. The reason why they left it, the Percy River was just too small to float the timber.
Okay.
Too steep, too rough. Now, all this area up through here in the Percy's never been cut.
So they're virgin stands.
Virgin stands, yeah.
Yep.
There's a big one there, Fran. See that big head down there?
So they've been there for thousands of years.
Oh yeah.
Ancient trees.
Never been burnt either. See, it's so steep. The fires, they can burn along the button grass up on top here where we are. Never burn down into the gully.
Continuing further upriver, Ron shares with Franz one of Tasmania's best kept secrets. Hidden away within the wilderness, far from roads and even walking tracks, the Upper Sprent River rushes and tumbles over a spectacular waterfall, a sight seen by very few. Reg Morrison's 3 boats survive to this day. The beautiful big Denison Star runs dinner cruises out of Hamilton Island in Queensland. His brave and unassuming little punt that survived the amazing journey up the Franklin River and a lot more is displayed at the Australian Wooden Boat Festival held in Hobart every second year. Also a regular at the festival is Reg's first cruise boat, the J. now owned by Alan Morrison.
The 6th festival she's been to, so it's all going well and people love to see her there because all the history over the years, of Reg being aboard, and Ronnie and I used to have Reg down there at the festival on the J. and he absolutely loved it, because sitting back and all his old friends were coming to him as old as what he was, and shaking his hand and, talking about old times and people that he hadn't seen for years, or someone that he might have carved up the river 50 years ago, I went on this boat 50 years ago, Good stuff, isn't it?
That's great. It's great.
Well, I'll always look back at the Gordon, put the tough times with the good times, and I think there was more tough times than good times, but there's nothing that I wouldn't do again if I possible to return to the age that I was in them days.
Reg Morrison passed away on the eve of the 2011 Wooden Boat Festival, aged 92.
I think they should have dammed the Franklin. Yes, of course. Why not? Why not? Bloody water's running out to sea and doing nothing. It wouldn't have stopped tourists. It wouldn't have stopped them from going down the river in the Franklin down there. They'd have gone down to the dam, and then they got out and rode over the bloody dam and down to the same as they do go down the Murray River and they strike the dams. They go out and go around and go down again.
Ron Penny left Strahan in 1936 and moved to Victoria. After working in the hardwood forests, he established a grazing property on the Murray River. He passed away in 2005, aged 85.
The life of a piner was something, I don't know, I think it must get you like the prospectors. When they're after gold, they'll have nothing else. And I think I got my grounding in the Braddon River as a boy.
Roy Nelson became an accomplished boat builder and blacksmith, but he left Strahan in 1943 to become a waterside worker in Devonport for the remainder of his working life. He passed away in 2008 at the age of 98.
After the big flood in the Rocky Sprint, Charlie Abel and I had the job of rafting and dropping the logs down to the mouth of the Gordon where the boats could tow them away, save all the extra towing. And I remember drifting down, one night was going down with about 250 logs in a raft. The moon was full, perfect night, and if there's any place like heaven, that'd have to be it. The reflections of everything that was in the sky, any scatter of a cloud or anything, you could pick it up in the water like it was real. And the Huon pines hanging over the river like weeping willows was a marvellous sight. And the smell and the freshness and beauty and wonder of it all is a marvellous thing to have had anything to do with. And I hope that it'll always stay like that forever.